So this is part 2 of how to romanticize spring this year. I realized that the first part of my video was very long, so I decided to kind of cut this up into 2 different parts because I just have so many hobbies and so many books and so many TV shows to talk about this spring. So this is the second part. The next anime I want to talk about is Snow White with the red hair. This is like one of my favorite animes of all time. Like, probably other than Full Alchemist Brotherhood, this is probably one of my favorite animes of all time because this anime is so. First of all, I think it's perfect for spring because like the setting of the TV show kind of looks like spring, and I just also think it just like the storyline kind of feels like it. If you don't know what this book is about, is it's about our female main character who is kind of like this version of Snow White. And she has this beautiful long red hair, and so because of that, there's a lot of like suitors after her who want to marry her, and who want her hand in marriage, and etc. etc. And so because of that, she kind of like decides to run away because she doesn't want to be forced into any sort of marriage, and she cuts off her long red hair and she runs away to this castle. But little does she know that the castle that she runs away to is there's a prince there, and this prince he ends up protecting her, and he lets her live in his castle for as long as she likes, and he doesn't force her to marry him, and he doesn't really force her to do anything, but he actually protects her from all these men that are trying to get her and trying to kind of like, they're kind of bad men, like they're very evil, they don't have very good intentions with her, and they obviously like want to marry her for her money, and like he's very protective over her, and I love him for that so much. And it just has like that wonderful spring romance feel in the anime, which again, like I feel like romance, like spring is the time of romance, so that's why I feel like it's just such a perfect TV show to watch during the spring. It's also very short, so it's not too long. I know like a lot of people get intimidated to watch animes because animes can have like very long seasons or very long episodes, but this one's fairly short. I really want to read the manga actually. um I have not read the manga yet, but I really want to get it physically so I can read it because I loved the show so much. It also, again, like I said, takes place in spring, and it also has a very fairy tale-esque setting, and I just associate fairy tales with the springtime. I just think it's so perfect. Alright, and then the next one I want to talk about is Bee and Puppy Cat, which isn't an anime, but it is like a cartoon TV show. I love this show so much. This is actually one of my comfort shows. I don't just watch this during the spring, I watch this during any time of the year. If you don't know, this show follows our main character, whose name is Bee, and her little cat named Puppy Cat, and their little adventures in life together. Bee is kind of supposed to be this representation of this girl who's lost in her 20s, which, as someone who's lost in her 20s, I kind of felt that deeply while watching this show. And it's just her and her little dog Puppy Cat and all their friends and the little adventures that they go on in life. And the reason I think it's perfect for spring is because this show has a lot of bright and vivid colors in it, and I think when I watch it and I see all the pretty and bright pastel-y colors, I just think of spring. Like, I can't help but think of spring while watching it. It also again has a very cozy and wholesome vibe, which, like I said earlier, reminds me of spring. And I just think there's just something sweet about it, and I think you should definitely check it out if you like cartoons and if you like stories about sweet little like homes and friends and family. The next one I want to talk about is actually a K-drama, and this is Spring Fever. This actually came out, I think it came out either this year or last year. It is so cute, guys. I actually haven't finished this either, but again, it's called Spring Fever, so like obviously it's set during the spring. This is about this teacher, and she ends up transferring schools in a completely different city. I think originally she was in Seoul, and then she like transfers to this other side of the country, and she kind of, when she transfers, she has this whole new personality. So like at her old school, she was known to like be this very charismatic and outgoing person, and then when she transfers, she kind of like becomes very shy and very like kept to herself. And you're kind of like, you're wondering what the switch was and what made her happen to be like that. And then one day she randomly meets, he's the uncle to one of her students, and he comes into like her classroom because he's like, why did you give like my nephew like a bad grade on the paper? And she's like, what are you talking about? And then they kind of like, she finds out that this uncle lives in the same neighborhood as her, and she kind of like keeps running into him. And again, because like his son, not his son, his nephew is in his class, they also kind of end up running into each other, and it's just kind of like the romance between the uncle and the teacher, and like it's really really cute. At first I didn't know how to feel about it because I was like, man, like I don't know, like an uncle and then like his nephew is in her class and then like she's the teacher, like is this weird? But it's not weird, like it's actually very cute and very sweet and very wholesome. And I didn't really have much else to say because I haven't finished it, but I know I'm gonna have a really fun time finishing it this April because I just think it's so cute and it's definitely causing me to giggle. And then again, another movie I'm going to be talking about that was a book that I talked about earlier is Anna Green Gables, but I want to talk about specifically the 1984 Anna Green Gables. I think this one's kind of more niche and more underrated. I have watched Anne with an E, and I like that. I like that one too, but I just think there's something specifically about the 1984 version that just has more of a spring vibe to it, and I really like it for that reason. And I think if you're not super interested or you're kind of in a book slump, I would definitely go watch the movie this spring because it has a good vibe to it. Again, this is another book that I talked about earlier that was made into a movie, and that is Howl's Moving Castle. And like I said earlier, I watched the movie before I read the book, and I think that is perfectly fine. I think like this is one of those things where I love the movie just as much as I love the book. Like I feel like that's such a rare case. I usually like the book better than the movie, but I actually like both. And even though the movie's slightly different than the book, it's not terribly different, but you can definitely tell that Miyazaki took some creative liberties. It doesn't really bother me that much because I still think the movie is beautiful, and the way it's drawn and animated is just so beautiful, and again just reminds me of spring. Right, and then another Ghibli movie I want to talk about is The Secret World of Archie. This is perfect for spring. It's about this little boy who's sick, and there's these tiny people who live in this house, in his house, and they're called the Burrowers, and they're kind of like pixies without wings, I guess, and they're called the borrowers because they borrow things from the human world. This book, I mean, not book, this movie is really perfect because I don't know, I feel like the little people who are kind of remind me of pixies kind of feel like they go with the spring vibe. It's also set in the spring. There's a scene in the movie where our female main character, who's one of the borrowers, like her room is covered in flowers, which gave me inspiration to cover my room in flowers. And I think there's just something very sweet and wholesome about it. It's also just drawn and animated so beautifully. So even if you're not gonna watch it during the spring, I would watch it either way because it is kind of one of those really underrated Ghibli movies that not a lot of people talk about. And I just think it's so beautiful. Right. And then I'm going to talk about The Secret Garden, but specifically the 1993 movie because there's several different adaptations. And again, I'm not going to be talking about it too much because I already talked about the book earlier, but I really liked this movie adaptation. I thought it was really really sweet and really really cute, and it just like the cinematography is really beautiful, and you like see all these really pretty descriptions of spring. So if you're not going to read the book, at least go watch the movie. And then I want to talk about Matilda, but specifically the 1996 Matilda. This was the like Matilda I grew up with. The reason I associated this with spring is because it's set during the school time, and I associate school with spring. It's also like in the movie, like a lot of the cinematography kind of looks like it's taking place during the springtime and during when like the flowers are out and blooming and stuff. If you don't know, this book is about this little girl named, not book, this hello, this movie is about this little girl named Matilda, and she kind of comes from this home. I wouldn't say the home is necessarily abusive, but it's kind of like it's a home where they kind of neglect her a little bit, and she ends up discovering that she has these like magical powers. Um, and she kind of has to hide them at school because she has this very like strict and mean principal. But then there's also this other really sweet teacher named Miss Honey who ends up adopting her later. And yeah, like I don't think I'm really, there's obviously a lot more to it than that, but it's mostly just like a story about children in school and specifically Matilda and learning how to use her magical powers. I know if you don't like magical powers in TV shows that might sound off-putting, but I swear like I don't know how to describe it, but the magic, I think it's like not like it is magic, but it's not like in your face magic because this movie isn't necessarily fantasy, if that makes any sense. And really more than anything, this movie is just about family and like really just like children, and it just has this very wholesome and sweet vibe. And again, it's a movie that's near and dear to my heart, and I definitely think you should watch it this spring. I think it definitely goes with the vibe. Then I want to talk about a movie that like I feel like almost no one has ever heard of, and that is I Believe in Fairies. Um, again, this like movie is perfect for spring because like I said, I associate fairies with the spring, and this movie is about fairies. It's about these little girls, and I believe they live in like the countryside of New England, and they build this little fairy home in the back of their garden. And like because they're like, yes, like I believe in fairies and I believe they'll come out. And then one day, um because these two little kids believe in fairies, like this scandal kind of happens within the town because I don't know how to describe it. It's because they are moving out of the house. And so these two little girls are like, "Oh, like we have to convince mom and dad not to sell the house." So they're like trying to convince them that there's fairies that like live on the property. And so because of that, like all these people, like this news reporter and the realtor and like the people they're selling the house to, just like they come flooding to the house and they're like, there's no way there's fairies actually here. Like these little girls are just being ridiculous. And I don't know, it sounds silly, like the premise sounds silly, but like, and it is kind of silly, but like it's also not. I think the movie was very, very sweet and very wholesome. And again, like not a lot of people know about this movie or know it even exists. So yeah, if you like cute little children's movies that have like fae and fairies in it, I can't recommend watching it enough. I just think it's a fun time for sure. Right. And then it would not be a spring video unless I mentioned Pride and Prejudice, specifically the 2005 version. Everyone knows about this movie, so I really feel like I don't need to talk about it too much, but it is perfect for spring. It's obviously set in New England during the springtime. It's beautiful. The cinematography is beautiful. It's wholesome. It's sweet. It's a romance and a love story, which again just perfectly goes with spring. And even if you've watched this movie 100 times, I can't recommend it enough during the spring, even if it's your billionth or hundredth time watching it, because it's incredible and amazing. Then I want to talk about Emma, but specifically the 2020 version of Emma. I liked the other one as well, but I don't know. There's something about the 2020 Emma version that I loved so much. I also don't think I need to explain this movie too much because I think most people have seen it. But this movie also takes place during spring in New England, and it's just beautiful. Like the colors in it are beautiful, and like the cinematography, and like it has these like this very sweet and wholesome feeling. There's also romance in it. And again, yeah, I feel like if you want to watch period dramas like other than Pride and Prejudice, please go watch the 2020 Emma because it is a movie that's very near and dear to my heart. Then I want to talk about Tinkerbell. Specifically the first movie. I feel like the first Tinkerbell is like something, again, like we watched this show as a kid. I'm sure all of us have seen it when we were children. So like I feel like it has a very like nostalgic feeling to it, which I kind of associate with spring. And again, I associate fae and fairies with the spring. And even if you are rewatching it as an adult for the first time, like there's no shame in that. I think like it is okay to rewatch old childhood comfort TV shows or movies. And I just think this is a perfect one for the spring, and I think it's very cute. And then I want to talk about You've Got Mail. Rom-coms I think are perfect for the spring. I really don't think you can get much better than a rom-com during the spring. And this one is literally perfect. It's so cute. It's about this bookshop owner, and she, like, across the street, this guy who owns this company opens up an even bigger bookshop next to her, and it kind of makes her go out of business. And they kind of become rivals throughout the story, but then later on, like, they're also love interests, they become lovers. And it's just super cute and funny and wholesome. It also takes place during spring in New York. I don't think it takes place during spring the whole movie, but definitely the first half. And again, I just associate love and romance and rom-coms with the spring. It's just such a cute movie. I also like this movie because it's a rom-com between adults, and I feel like I usually see rom-coms between teenagers, and I kind of liked how it was a bit of a switch up. I just think it's a classic and it's perfect. All right, and then another rom com to watch during the spring is To All the Boys I Loved Before. I love this movie. I did not like the second or the third movie, so I don't recommend going to watch those. But the first movie is peak. The first movie is perfection, and Jenny Han knows how to write incredible romance. If you don't know, this movie takes place um, in this cute little high school setting, and it's kind of like better than the movies where this girl, um, she has this crush on this guy, and well, she has a crush on several boys, and for every boy she has a crush on, she sends out letters to them, and she writes love letters to them. Well, she doesn't send out the love letters, but she writes love letters to them. And then one day her little sister Kitty sends out all the love letters to different boys at her school, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, why would you do that? Like, that's horrible. And her little sister's like, well, like, I thought, like, you needed love life, you know, you're almost about to graduate high school, yada yada. And one of the boys that she sends the love letter to, Peter Kavinsky, he's like, you know what, I read your letter. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, that's an old letter, like, please ignore it. And he's like, no no no, I have a plan. My ex just broke up with me, but I want to make her jealous and have her get back with me. Will you fake date me, because you clearly have had feelings for me in the past, in order to make her jealous and get back with me? And again, it's fake dating, which I love so much in rom-coms. And obviously, you know, these two are going to end up together. And it's so cute. It's so cute for the spring because it's a rom-com, which I love. It's just, it's kind of set during that school springtime setting. It's very sweet and wholesome, and it's also clean, and I love it so much. I love a good rom-com during the spring. I love it so much. And then I want to talk about XO Kitty, which is actually the TV series that follows To All the Boys We Loved Before, and this one is about her little sister Kitty, and like her journey throughout high school. And she actually goes to high school in Seoul. And the reason, again, I think it's perfect for spring is because it's another rom com, and it's a TV series, and they're coming out with the third season in April, which I'm so excited about. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. And it's cute, it's sweet, it's wholesome. I would say this one is a bit more closed door. It's still clean, but like, there's a lot more innuendos in it, so just to be aware of that. But I would still say it's clean, and it's just really really cute, and I love Kitty. Kitty is the definition of a hopeless romantic, and I just think it's a really cute TV show to watch during the spring. Right, and then another rom-com, Ella Enchanted. Can you tell I like rom-coms? This rom-com is perfect. This is a Cinderella retelling, and it's about Ella, and she is cursed at birth to always be obedient, but it's kind of like obedient in a way where it's like, if someone's like, touch your head, you know, like, she'll touch her head. And honestly, just talking about it right now makes me want to rewatch it again. I actually rewatched it in March, but now I kind of want to rewatch it in April because it's so cute, guys. It's so cute. First of all, because it's a rom-com, spring, like, I associate fairy tales with spring. This has a very fairy tale-esque setting. The cinematography is set during like the spring. You see all the flowers and stuff, and it's just so cute and sweet, and I love this movie. And then I want to talk about Tuck Everlasting, which I don't, okay, it is a romance movie, but it's not necessarily a rom-com. This is about our main character Winnie, And one day she discovers this family, and this family kind of, they've drunk from this magical spring, and so because of that they can never die and they can never age. And because she found out about them, they kind of capture her and kidnap her to their cottage because they're like, oh my gosh, like she can't tell like our secret to anyone. And she ends up falling in love with one of the boys there on the cottage, and it's just, it's set during the spring. Like, I think the cinematography for this movie is beautiful and perfect and gorgeous. Like, every single time I look at a scene from this movie, I'm just like, oh, can only think of spring. It's absolutely incredible. This movie also has like a lot to do with like what it actually means to love someone, um how to live, how to choose freely. I think there's a lot of really beautiful prose within this movie. And yeah, it's kind of a bit of a niche movie, so if you haven't seen it, I definitely would go recommend it. I think it's very good for the spring. Alright, and last but not least, the infamous and the wonderful The Hobbit. Um, I don't think I need to explain this movie too much. I literally feel like everyone and their mothers has probably seen The Hobbit, but the reason I'm recommending it for the spring is because, again, just like the way it has uh magic and goblins and dwarves and hobbits in it. I feel like that sort of fairy tale fantasy s setting is perfect for the spring. Most of the like book and movie takes place in the Shire, and at least in the first half, and the Shire has this very beautiful spring setting to it. And even if this is your 100th time watching this movie, which I'm sure it is if you're seeing this video, I would still go watch it this spring. I think it's really cute and ideal for this perfect spring weather. And then I want to talk about some cute hobbies you can do during the spring that I do. The first one is flower picking. We don't have a ton of wildflowers where I'm from, but we have a few, and I definitely will like pick flowers a lot of the times, and I'll either hang them on my wall to dry, like I have with these yellow flowers right here, or I'll press them, which leads into the next hobby, flower pressing. You can get like a cute little journal, and you can just press flowers in there, and they will like live, well, not live, but they'll like last for a really long time. Like, they'll still dry out, but like the coloring will still be there and everything. And it's just, it's such a cute little hobby, and I just think I feel like a fairy while doing it, or like a princess. I just think it's really, I think it's such a cute little hobby. And then I want to move on to watercolor painting. I specifically think watercolor painting is perfect for the spring because, I don't know, I just associate watercolors with the spring, specifically if you paint Ghibli scenes, which, like, I like to paint Ghibli scenes the best, and I just think they're a really fun way to practice watercolor painting, and I think they're really, like, just a really fun hobby to do during the spring. Another really fun art hobby is oil pastels. If you like, if painting kind of intimidates you, I think you would really like oil pastels, because oil pastels, like, it's kind of like crayons but not really, and like they're really easy to blend, and I just think like that's such a fun hobby to like do during the spring. And I don't know, I just think it's cute. The next one I want to mention is bird watching. I don't personally bird watch, but I have a sister who does. Her and her fiance go bird watching a lot, and I just think that's so cute. I think that is the ideal like spring hobby, like going outside to nature, getting a little bird guidebook, maybe some binoculars, and looking at all the birds that are going to come out during the spring. I just think that's perfect, and I think that's cute. I personally never done it before. I kind of want to ask my sister if she might want to do it sometime, just because I think that'd be fun. But yeah, like, if you've never done it, I think it would be fun. I definitely think it'd be an adventure, and I just think it's really cute. What I want to mention is foraging. Obviously, there's limited amount you can do with this. I foraged last year, and I have this little junk journal that I have, and what I did is I kind of like taped each thing to each page. So would forage for a lot of different things. Like, I kept old pine cones, or maybe like a leaf, and I would press them to a journal, or like a little sap, or a branch. And I don't know, I think foraging is really cute. I think a lot of people think that it's kind of useless because they're like, you don't really need to forage in the big old 2026. But I don't know, you feel like a fairy while you're doing it, and I think it's a really fun hobby. If you've never done it before, it's just, it makes you feel like a little fairy, and it's fun. The next one I want to mention is sketching outdoors. Last spring we have this thing called the Dillon Nature Center where I live, and it's just this cute little nature center. and there's this like deck up front that you can go up and you could watch like the geese on the pond. And last spring I actually would go there sometimes and I would just sketch outdoors, and it was like the most aesthetically pleasing thing. I felt like the main character in a movie. I think if you can, like if you have like a park or somewhere to go to that's safe, obviously, like I would recommend sketching outdoors just because I think it's fun and it's cute and you feel like the main character while doing it. And like sketching the scenery of the outdoors is like even more perfect for spring because you can just see how the leaves are changing and you can see how like the flowers are starting to bloom and everything. And I don't know, I just think it'd be fun. And then the very last one is picnicking. And honestly, I remember me and my sisters used to picnic as kids. We'd picnic in our backyard because we had this big house. And I don't know, if you can, like if you and your friend have some free time, I think it'd be really really fun to picnic. You don't have to make something too elaborate, but you could just make little things like maybe little peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But I think it's a really fun way to romanticize spring. I think picnicking is something we need to bring back picnicking in 2026 because I don't know. I think it's a good way to add whimsy to your life, and I think it's cute and sweet, and you feel like a little main character while doing it. And you know, who cares if someone at the park judges you? Who cares if people are like, "Oh, that's impractical. Why would you picnic when you could just go get fast food somewhere?" It's like because it's cute and it makes life more romantic and it makes it more whimsical. So if you can, I would recommend picnicking this year because I think it's fun. Thank you so much for watching part 2 of this. Let me know all the cute little hobbies that you like to do during the spring. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.